Alright, hey everyone, and welcome back to the network, where today we're going to be taking a look at yet another retro console accessory. This time, it'll be the NES Satellite for the Nintendo Entertainment System, obviously. Now, this was a wireless receiver and transmitter, allowing you to play your Nintendo games from a distance and not being tethered by a cord, allegedly. But without any further ado, let's see what's inside the box, shall we? So, taking a look at the box, it states NES Satellite Remote Control Module right here at the top. We have the official Nintendo seal of quality, meaning, you know, Nintendo endorsed this product. Then it says up to 4-player action with A and B turbo control, Nintendo Entertainment System, you know, just in case you didn't know it was for that, via it being called the NES Satellite. And then we have a little icon down here for a 4-player accessory. And if we take a look at the side of the box, it is pretty standard, just showing a picture of the item along with the title of it being NES Satellite. Where turning it over to the back, we can see we have a lovely graphic that states 6 C batteries are required, they're not included, control deck and controllers are sold separately, in case you thought that you would be getting a super bundle with all of that included. And it features a little read up here on a brief synopsis for what this NES Satellite does. I'll go ahead and let you pause here if you're interested in reading that. Now, turning it back over so that we can open up the box and see what's inside, we do have a lovely little piece of styrofoam, which was pretty common with a lot of the packaging here. Now, this device is not entirely new. It's more so used but in box. So we are most likely missing some sort of paperwork that came with this. Probably there was a little leaflet for subscribing to Nintendo Power along with the instructions. But as we can see inside of here, we have the wireless receiver. This part plugs into your Nintendo and receives the inputs from the transmitter, which is this little satellite here. Now, it is a lot smaller than you would think. You would think this thing would be a lot chunkier for what it is, but this device basically functions as an infrared remote. So whereas some devices use radio frequencies, this uses essentially the same technology that your TV remote does, meaning that there needs to be a clear line of sight from this transmitter to this receiver, otherwise it will not read your inputs. And if we flip the transmitter over to the backside, we will see our battery housing for our 6 C-cell batteries. Yep, this thing only needs a few. Turning it back over to the front, we have our power button. There is the controller / gun switch. So if you're using a light gun or if you're using a, standard controller, you would just turn this appropriately. Then you have your turbo selector switches or turbo toggles for your A and B buttons, along with all 4 controller ports. Now that's just about it for the overview of this product, so let's take a moment to learn a little bit about the history of the NES Satellite. So this device was released back in 1989 as a part of Nintendo's sports collection, and exactly what this has to do with sports, I'm not sure, but my guess is at the time, sports titles were probably the only game genre that had the ability to play with more than 2 people. So I figure Nintendo saw that and decided, let's just rope it into the sports collection, and that's just about it. Now, the NES Satellite was not the only device that allowed more than 2 players to play on one Nintendo, as after just about a year of it being on the market, Nintendo would release the NES 4-score adapter. Now, this thing, in premise, is very similar to that of the NES Satellite, but instead of it being wireless, it is wired. In turn, making this thing a good alternative for an NES Satellite if you want to either A, have an extension cable for your NES, or B, if you want to play, more 4-player games. But that's just about all for the history on this thing, so let's go ahead and test out its functionality. Now, in order to get our satellite up and running, we'll need to install those 6 C-cell batteries I was talking about earlier. And once you have all your C-cells in, you can go ahead and close the door and make note of how much more this thing weighs with all those batteries inside, and then you can plug in your controller, set your switch accordingly, and press the power button to turn it on. And when it comes to the installation on the console side itself, all you need to do is take the receiver and plug it into your console's controller ports. And what you'll notice is that the style of the receiver is meant to match that of the console itself, even down to the black strip across the controller ports, making this thing look aesthetically pleasing when connected to your console. Now, the NES Satellite was advertised to be able to function with the transmitter being up to 15 feet away from the console. Now, I'm unable to test those claims given my current setup, but expect the responsiveness of the satellite to diminish over those sorts of ranges. When using the NES Satellite, you'll be able to tell if your inputs are being registered by the console by a little little blinking red LED on the receiver itself. During my playtime, I experienced very little input lag while using the NES Satellite. However, if you are planning to use this thing at range, expect there to be some sort of lag. Now, unfortunately, due to the NES Satellite using infrared technology rather than RF, that means that if at any point during your game session something was to obstruct the transmitter from the receiver, your console will immediately stop receiving inputs from your controller, in turn introducing the possibility for some annoying gaming mishaps. Overall, the NES Satellite is a neat piece of gaming history, and if you can find it for cheap, I highly recommend picking one up just to play with. But if you're looking more for functionality, I would recommend picking up Nintendo's Foursquare adapter, as this thing's just a little more reliable. Sure, it has a cord, but at least it beats having someone walk in front of the TV and inevitably screwing up your game. Now with that, if you enjoyed, remember to drop a like and make that subscribe button glow so that you don't miss any future content. And if you have any recommendations for any retro console accessories you'd like to see covered, be sure to leave a comment down below or pitch it over at our official Discord server. Link down below in case you're interested in stopping by. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.